If this was the last show that you were ever going to design, what would be important to you to make it into this show?
Oh man, I wish I had an answer to that.
Oh man. I think everybody has gathered this list of things that you've always wanted to see or you've wanted to do. And I think that you always kind of hold on to those for like the perfect show, the perfect idea. But if you were going into something knowing that it was the last time, how would you try to get them into the show? What is that list of things? It's kind of an entire career's worth of things put into one show for me.
If this were the last show that I ever got to help design or that Rhythm X ever got to perform, for me, the primary goal would be that when that performance was completed, that the most important thing would have been the students who performed it.
In a movie that's almost entirely a comedy, there's a small philosophical point that's made when Billy is graduating a particular grade and he's sitting at a table surrounded by children coloring.
I drew the duck blue because I've never seen a blue duck before, and to be honest with you, I wanted to see a blue duck.
What it alludes to is this idea of if there's something that you've always wanted to see, sometimes you have to be the one to create it. And so I think that has been a mentality for us where we want to find a show that is manifested by this idea that, hey, if we haven't seen it before, that's okay. We're going to make it, and we're going to create it, and we're going to be responsible for it.
So one of the goals was to be able to set up an aesthetic and a visual landscape that upon seeing it, someone could have a connection with, even if they didn't fully understand what that connection was. So that kind of sent us down this very humanized endeavor of how can we have a set that the audience could physically be present in, and that inspired a lot of conversations about really nothing being more humanized or comfortable or familiar than a person's own home, their room, their kitchen, their living room. Inside of those spaces are objects, chairs, couches, TVs, plants, dishware, books. And there is this very sobering reality that a lot of those things are probably going to outlast us. The emotional response of that is that through the course of how we interact with these things, we put a high amount of value on it. We go to work every day and to pay for these things, and we take care of them all day long. So the goal of the show is to have that realization while you still have runway to do something about it. And so there was this opportunity, I guess, to make everything that isn't the performers of Rhythm X just less important. The way in which we've kind of achieved that is by making everything the exact same color. The hope of that is let that wash de-emphasize the importance of all those objects. The only overt contrast that exists in our entire aesthetic is the performers.
Honestly, it's just a lot of choreography put together that we haven't been able to do in the past. I feel like at this point in the activity, we've grown so much visually. It opens up a lot more avenues than what we've had before. So some of the stuff that I've really wanted to do is a little bit more pedestrian with kind of a mix of hip hop. I really like marionette type stuff. So I feel like this has a pretty big fusion of all of those things in one show.
I think for me, it wasn't so much of what components are going to go into the show specifically. It's more of a mentality of this realization that if I didn't have another opportunity to do this, I would approach everything with a heightened sense of awareness.
To me, if this was the last chance that I had to do this, the season ended, I would want to make sure that I look back and know that I gave it my best effort, and I would want the group to feel the same way. The outcome at the end, as far as the number that you get in placement, is so out of your control. The effort that you put into it and how hard you fought for it is in your control. And I would be okay. I'd be okay with most results if at the end of the year I said we did everything that we could.
The beauty in the situation where you realize that something is finite, something is going to finish. You can't do certain things forever. Things, events, experiences, people don't last forever. And it's it can be an uncomfortable topic to bring up, and to have that moment of realization that things end, things finish. And there are a lot of different ways that people react to that. People can react with confusion or panic, anger, or it could also be a freeing experience where someone is in that realization that this is going to come to an end. They kind of work harder to do the things that they want, to have fun. We've talked about how, for example, if it were the last time that we were ever able to be together as a Rhythm X staff constructing this show, we wouldn't have this sort of sad, somber interaction at the end where everybody is just, putting their arms around each other. We would get together and just have a great time and make each other laugh and just talk about our favorite memories of what we've gone through, what we've created, how this organization has developed us as people and as friends and as companions and co-workers, and how it's had such a lasting impact, not just on this group and this identity and this brand, but far reaching outside of that to relationships that have been formed and career paths that have been developed. I think for how it relates to the 7.5 minutes of the show, we wanted to provide a framework that every member could feel whatever they wanted to feel, and that is exactly what we want. We don't tell them what emotion to portray. They react to the environment that's provided, the music that they perform, the visuals, the choreography, the drama, the velocity, the stability. They are allowed to just react to that as honestly and with as much authenticity as they want. And for us, pulling that sort of emotional drive out of the membership is every day that we work on this show, it becomes easier and easier to allow that all just to come to the surface. And there's such a variety of emotions that are in this program, which probably leads us to the hope that any audience member who gets to see this has just as wide a variety of means to enjoy the program.
What's special about your age out year is that you go into it with an appreciation that you didn't have. And I think that, once you get on the teaching and designing side of things, like your last year, sometimes sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's in your control, sometimes it's not in your control. But if you had the blessing of knowing, I think it makes you appreciate everything.
After unveiling the title of the show to individuals, it's pretty common that we get asked the type of question of, "Oh, well, is Rhythm X folding? Is this the end of the organization?" Or, Tim, are you quitting after this year? Is this your last one? And what's really intriguing is that the only honest answer to any of that is, I don't know. I can't be sure. And it's that question mark that has inspired us to make the decisions that we have with this show and with how it's developed and what we've created, because the only real way to be honest about answering those questions is to just recognize that you don't have the answer, that it could be. We don't really know. I can't tell you for sure.